White Democrats are donkeys and Republicans are elephants. Every election cycle, illustrations of donkeys and elephants show up in political cartoons, campaign buttons, internet memes, and some truly alarming fashion choices. How could it be otherwise, the two beasts? The former representing the Democratic Party, the latter the Republican Party. Are mainstays of America's visual culture as recognizable as Santa Claus and Uncle Sam. Yet most Americans will be surprised to learn that both political symbols, as well as Santa Claus and Uncle Sam, were popularized and given their modern forms by the same maverick cartoonist. His name was Thomas Nast, and over the course of his tenure at Harper's Weekly from 1862 to 1886, he became America's first great political cartoonist and one of the harshest satirists. The intricately detailed wood engravings for which he's best remembered, he tackled the Civil War, the follies of Reconstruction, immigration, and most famously the Tammany Hall political machine. Some have suggested that the word nasty derives from the artist's surname, and while this is almost certainly not true, one glance at his cartoons might convince you that it is. Historians have asserted that Nast, who grew up in New York City in the 1840s and 50s, was ferociously bullied as a child. Indeed, the two themes that run through his career are his sneer and disdain for bullies of all shapes and sizes, and his compassion for their victims. At Harper's, he moved back and forth between these two poles in one famous cartoon, Worse Than Slavery, in 1974. A defenseless black family cowers before a grinning Klansman, and another, a blistering parody of KKK's alliance with New York's political machine, captioned, "They are swallowing each other. There are no victims, only two bloated, bug-eyed men depicted as Urubori." Nowadays, editorial cartoons might bring to mind spare, deliberately simplistic images, the kind you can process in half a second while reading the news. By contrast, Nast's dense, meticulously labeled cartoons were news, not just images, but arguments, meant to be analyzed and discussed point by point. Take Third Term Panic, the 1874 cartoon often credited with popularizing the elephant as a symbol for the Republican Party. In the months leading up to the midterms, the New York Herald, at the time backing several Democratic candidates, had spread the rumor that President Ulysses Grant, a Republican, was contemplating running for a third term in 1876, not illegal in the days before the 22nd Amendment, but definitely frowned upon. Nast, a proud supporter of the party of Lincoln, drew the Herald as a donkey wrapped in a lion's skin, frightening the other animals with wild stories of a grand dictatorship. Among these animals are an enormous old-fish elephant labeled the Republican vote, which looks as though it's about to tumble off a cliff. Nast was hardly the first humorist to compare humans to animals. The story of the donkey and the lion's skin goes back all the way to Esso. He wasn't even the first artist to compare Republicans to pachyderm. Just a decade later, advertisements had promoted the GOP with the slogan, "See the elephant," an obscure bit of Civil War slang, roughly translates to "fight bravely." But it was Nast's insight to present American politics as one big messy menagerie, a circus much like the one Barnum and Bailey had debuted in New York 3 years earlier. Like the best satirist, he'd ridiculed his own side almost as gleefully as he did his opponents. So he reimagined the GOP as a weak, panicky creature that was constantly lumbering off the wrong direction, the size more of a liability than an asset. It's a little weird that both of the major American political parties have embraced their mascots so enthusiastically, considering how poorly the two animals come across in Nast's original cartoons, how stupid, how pliable, how easily confused. Maybe neither party bothered to check before stocking up on pins and tote bags. Maybe they knew about Nast's mockery and decided that the appropriate response was to join in mocking themselves. This is Groovy Baby.